Hey everyone, ready for a deep dive into something kind of spicy?
Ooh, yeah.
We're going to be looking at
I'm excited for this one.
24 sex fantasy suggestions to spice things up in the bedroom.
Okay.
It's from Metro News.
Right.
And no matter what your reason is for tuning in today, whether you're getting ready for a conversation or you're just curious,
Yeah.
or maybe you're looking for some new ideas,
Right.
we're here for it.
Let's do it.
And remember,
Yeah.
respect,
Yeah.
consent,
Of course.
and communication are super important.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's have some fun with this.
Okay.
All right. So
Yeah.
they jump right into it with classic,
Okay.
the striptease,
Mm-hmm.
all about confidence and just having fun.
I think what's interesting about this list is it goes like way beyond just the
Yeah.
typical fantasies you might hear about.
Right.
It's really like the full range of human desire.
Yeah, that is.
So I think it's something worth exploring.
Absolutely. So then they get into role playing,
All right.
suggesting things like teacher, student,
Uh-huh.
cops, and robbers.
Nice.
I mean, who hasn't pictured themselves
Yeah.
in one of those scenarios at some point?
Well, and think about it. Like role-playing isn't just
Yeah.
about acting out a scene.
Right.
It's like a chance to tap into
Yeah.
different parts of yourself.
Right.
Maybe even parts you usually keep hidden.
Yeah.
So it can be a really powerful way to kind of explore your desires and boost your confidence
I like that.
in a safe space.
That's a really good point. Like
Yeah.
you're trying on a different persona
Makes
for a
sense.
little bit.
Yeah.
And speaking of trying things on,
Okay.
dressing up a little lingerie or even just a different outfit
Mm-hmm.
can totally shift the mood.
For sure.
Right.
Absolutely.
And then this one I love.
Okay.
Pretending you don't know each other.
Ooh, fun.
So they actually use a Rihanna song
All right.
as inspiration for this, suggesting you meet at a bar at like separate tables.
Uh-huh.
And one of you sends a drink over,
I like it.
like in Pour It Up.
Okay. Yeah.
It's about recreating that initial spark.
It's all about creating that sense of excitement and novelty.
Totally.
Yeah.
I love that idea.
Yeah.
You sing a song to set the scene.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
It's like a little game of seduction,
It is.
full of mystery and anticipation.
Absolutely.
I'll like it.
Getting a little more intense now.
Okay.
They talk about BDSM,
Oh.
but they really stress sanity and consent.
Of course.
Start slow talk openly.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe try some lighter forms of sensation play before diving into anything too extreme.
Yeah. And I think it's good to remember that BDSM is really about
Yeah.
exploring power dynamics and pushing boundaries.
Right.
But it has to be within a framework of trust
Yeah.
and mutual understanding.
Yeah.
It's not about pain or coercion.
Right.
It's about
It's about
exploring pleasure in a controlled and consensual way.
exactly.
Wow.
So communication
Interesting.
is key here.
Yeah.
And then they also suggest reversing roles.
Uh-huh.
You know, if you're usually the one initiating,
Uh-huh.
try letting your partner take the lead for once.
That can be incredibly exciting for both partners.
Yeah.
It introduces that element of surprise.
Yeah.
And allows each person to experience the dynamic from a different perspective.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And then for the more adventurous,
Yeah.
they mention anal play.
All right.
Again, encouraging starting slow, using smaller toys,
Yeah.
communicating openly,
Right.
especially if it's new territory.
It's important to remember that
Yeah.
everyone has different comfort levels.
Right.
And rushing into anything can lead to discomfort or even pain.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the opposite of what we want.
Of course.
So patience, understanding, and like a gradual approach
Right.
are essential.
Then they get into sensation play, using things like feathers whispers or even hot wax and nipple clamps.
Wow.
The suggestion is to blindfold each other and guess the sensations.
Oh, fun.
Talk about heightened senses.
Yeah, sensation play is all about
Mhm.
exploring different ways to experience
Right.
pleasure and arousal.
Yeah.
It encourages mindfulness
Mm-hmm.
and can create a deeper connection between partners.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's about like
Yeah.
focusing on the sensations themselves
Right.
and discovering what feels good.
Okay, this next one.
All right.
You definitely don't hear about every day.
Okay.
Pegging.
All right.
So they suggest starting with fingers and toys before moving to a strap-on.
Mhm.
Have you seen this becoming more mainstream?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think more couples are becoming open to exploring different forms of sexual expression.
Right.
And pegging can be a way to kind of challenge
Yeah.
traditional gender roles and power dynamics.
Right.
It's about flipping the script
Yeah.
and experiencing a different kind of intimacy.
It's interesting how many of these fantasies involve
Mm.
a sense of pushing boundaries.
Yeah.
Or exploring something outside the norm.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And speaking of which,
Yeah.
the article also mentions voyeurism and exhibitionism.
Right.
They even suggest exploring these in a safe environment, like a sex club.
So these fantasies often tap into a desire for visual stimulation and the thrill of the forbidden.
Right.
But it's important to remember that this type of exploration should always be consensual and safe.
Absolutely.
For everyone involved. And that goes for incorporating toys or watching porn together as well.
Right. Safety and consent are paramount.
Always.
They also bring up making a sex tape.
Okay.
But with a big emphasis on responsible practices.
Right. Because this is where things can get tricky.
Yeah.
A sex tape is a permanent record.
Right.
So it's crucial to have a very clear understanding with your partner about how it will be used.
Right.
And stored privacy and security.
Non-negotiable. We've covered a lot of ground.
Yeah, we have.
But there's still more to explore.
There is.
From rough sex to car sex.
Okay.
To something called shibari.
Ooh.
We're about to get even more adventurous.
We'll delve deeper into like the psychology behind these desires.
All right.
Understanding what they reveal about like our needs and longings.
I'm ready.
Stick with us. It's about to get fascinating.
Yeah, we'll be back.
See you soon.
After the break.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're back and ready to get a little more adventurous.
All right, let's do it.
Like we were saying before the break, things are going to get spicy.
Okay.
So they get into rough sex, which I know can be a loaded term.
It is.
But they emphasize that rough is subjective. And the key is clear communication and consent.
Absolutely.
If you're curious, but a little hesitant. They suggest starting with like light spanking or hair pulling.
It's important to remember that rough sex isn't about like actual pain or inflicting harm.
Yeah.
It's more about like exploring that intensity and that primal energy in a way that feels exciting and pleasurable for both partners.
For sure.
It's about pushing those boundaries, but always within a safe and consensual space.
Totally.
Yeah.
Next, they bring up car sex.
Okay.
Painting it as this spontaneous and exciting experience.
Right.
But of course, they remind us about discretion and finding a secluded spot.
Of course.
So this fantasy often taps into that.
Thrill of the forbidden.
Yeah.
That feeling of potentially getting caught.
Right.
It's a way to kind of break away from routine and embrace a little bit of risk and passion.
Yeah, I can see that.
And let's be real, sometimes a change of scenery can be really hot.
For sure.
Just remember to prioritize safety and legality.
Right, of course.
Of course.
Now, for something totally different, they introduce shibari, the Japanese art of rope bondage. It's described as both erotic and relaxing.
Interesting.
Blending sensuality with a sense of control and restraint.
I don't know much about this one.
I have to admit, me neither.
Shibari is fascinating.
Yeah.
It's a complex practice that involves a lot of skill and knowledge.
Yeah.
It's not just tying someone up.
Right.
It's about creating these like beautiful and intricate patterns with rope.
Yeah.
While ensuring the safety and comfort of the person being tied.
Yeah.
So it's really like an art form
with
a rich history and cultural significance.
The article even gives a few tips for beginners.
Okay.
Stressing the need for proper rope.
Right.
Safety shares.
Right.
And never leaving a tied person unattended.
Of course. Yeah, safety is.
Yeah, it really seems like responsible practice
paramount.
Is crucial here.
In any form of like bondage or restraint, you need clear communication, safe words or signals, and like a gradual approach.
Right.
It's about building trust and comfort as you explore those sensations of being bound or restrained.
Okay, back to fantasies involving other people. This time they delve into cuckolding.
Okay.
Where one partner gets turned on by the idea or sight of their partner being intimate with someone else.
Yeah, this one seems pretty complex.
Pretty complicated.
It can be.
It often involves like specific power dynamics and challenges traditional ideas about monogamy.
Right.
It's important to understand that this isn't for everyone, and it requires a very high level of communication and trust.
Yeah, for sure.
Between partners.
The article suggests exploring this fantasy in a safe and controlled way, like browsing dating apps together.
Okay.
Or starting conversations with potential partners.
Yeah, it's about finding a way to explore this fantasy in a way that feels
safe and comfortable for both partners.
Totally.
And it's important to be aware of like the emotional complexities involved.
Right.
And approach it with sensitivity and respect.
For sure.
Yeah.
Then they touch on gender bending.
Okay.
Which they suggest as a way to kind of mix things up and explore different aspects of your identity and sexuality.
I think this one speaks to the like fluidity of gender and how it can be expressed in so many different ways.
Yeah.
It's about breaking free from those rigid societal norms and embracing the full spectrum of who you are, both individually and as a couple.
Totally.
It can be a really playful and liberating experience.
I like that.
Yeah.
And finally, we get to sploshing, which involves using food for sexual pleasure.
Interesting.
The article says it can be anything from whipped cream to more adventurous scenarios.
This one seems like it could be.
This one seems like a lot of fun.
A lot of fun, yeah. Sploshing definitely brings an element of playfulness and like sensory exploration into the mix.
Totally.
But like with anything else, safety is key.
Right?
Choosing foods that are like safe for the body is crucial.
Of course.
And avoiding anything that could cause like irritation or allergic reactions is a must.
They do mention that recommending edible lubes and avoiding certain foods near sensitive areas to prevent things like yeast infections.
Makes sense.
They even suggest a hot shower afterwards for a, shall we say, flavorful cleanup.
All right.
It's a good reminder that even when we're exploring our fantasies, being mindful and responsible is important.
Absolutely.
Pleasure and safety go hand in hand.
For sure.
We've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
From the classic to the unexpected.
Yeah.
What strikes me is the sheer variety of fantasies out there.
Yeah. What's also fascinating is that these fantasies can serve different purposes. Some are about adding like excitement and novelty, while others might tap into deeper psychological needs, a desire for exploration, or even a way to work through certain issues or insecurities.
It really highlights the importance of open communication.
Big time.
Both within ourselves and with our partners.
Absolutely. And a willingness to be curious and explore what feels good for one person might be completely different for someone else.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Totally.
It's about finding what works for you and your partner and creating a space where you can both feel comfortable and safe to express yourselves.
So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, any final thoughts before we move on to the last few fantasies on the list?
I think it's important to remember that this list is just a starting point.
Right.
It's like a spark to ignite your own curiosity and encourage you to delve deeper into your own desires and fantasies.
Absolutely.
What we've explored here is just a glimpse into the vast and complex world of human sexuality.
Totally. Okay, so we're back.
Back for more.
For the final stretch of our deep dive into these 24 fantasy suggestions. This has been quite a journey.
It really has. We've covered so much, from playful role-playing to more intense desires. And it's just clear that human sexuality is incredibly diverse and fascinating.
Totally. So let's jump into these last few fantasies on the list.
Let's do it.
So the article mentions forced seduction.
Okay.
Where one partner pretends to resist while secretly wanting it.
Right. This fantasy is all about playing with.
This one seems like it could be tricky.
Power dynamics and that thrill of the chase.
Yeah, to navigate.
But it's crucial to ensure that both partners are fully on board and that the resistance is like clearly understood as part of the fantasy misinterpretations or a lack of clear communication. Right.
It can easily lead to discomfort or even harm.
Totally makes sense. It's all about finding that balance between fantasy and reality and making sure everyone feels safe and respected.
Absolutely.
Now, for something a little lighter, they suggest a massage with a happy ending.
This one's a classic for a reason.
Yeah.
It combines relaxation and sensuality.
Yeah.
It builds anticipation and creates a sense of intimacy. It's a great way to explore each other's bodies.
For sure.
And discover what feels good.
And finally, they talk about being watched.
Okay.
Whether it's through a hidden camera or a more voyeuristic scenario, this fantasy seems to tap into that desire for exhibitionism and the thrill of being observed.
Exactly. It's about surrendering control and letting someone else witness your pleasure. But again, consent and safety are paramount.
Yeah.
It's essential to have clear boundaries and agreements about who is allowed to see what,
of course,
and how the recordings will be used, if any. So we've explored all 24 fantasies from your article.
Wow.
It's been quite the journey.
It has.
Looking back, what stands out to you as the most important takeaway for our listener?
I think the biggest takeaway is the importance of communication.
Yeah.
Whether you're exploring a simple fantasy or something more complex, open and honest communication is the foundation for a healthy and fulfilling sex life.
Couldn't agree more. It's about creating that space where both partners feel safe to express their desires, explore their curiosities, push their boundaries, all while feeling respected and heard.
Absolutely.
And, of course, consent is absolutely non-negotiable.
Yes, consent isn't a one-time thing.
Right.
It's an ongoing conversation.
Yeah.
It's about checking in with each other throughout the experience, making sure everyone feels comfortable.
Yeah.
And empowered to say yes or no at any point.
This deep dive has really opened my eyes to the incredible variety of fantasies and desires that exist.
Me too.
It's a reminder that there's no right or wrong way to experience pleasure, and what might be a turn-on for one person could be a complete turn-off for another.
Exactly. The beauty of human sexuality lies in its diversity. What matters is that we approach our fantasies with curiosity, respect, and a sense of adventure.
Absolutely.
Both within ourselves and with our partners.
So to wrap things up, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's important to remember that this list of 24 fantasies is just a starting point.
Okay.
It sparked a conversation and hopefully ignited your imagination. I encourage you to go beyond this list, to explore your own unique fantasies and desires, and to continue this journey of discovery with your partner.
I love that.
What other hidden desires are waiting to be unearthed?
Great question.
How can you bring more pleasure and fulfillment into your intimate life?
Yeah.
Those are the questions that I invite you to ponder.
That's a great note to end on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It was my pleasure.
Remember, communication, consent, and a sense of adventure are your best companions.
Yes.
On this journey of exploration. Until next time, happy exploring